All right, welcome to my 15th live stream. And this is kind of the show where I live stream while I'm working on thumbnails for book two of two stories, my graphic novel, that you can pick up book one at Amazon.com. It's a graphic novel, 120 pages or so of hand inked, hand lettered art and story by me. And it's basically a graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. And it's like a slice of life autobio narrative that, yeah, it took about 5 years or so to create. Um, Now I'm working on the sequel, and I'm hoping to cut that time in half. And so right now I'm at the stage of thumbnailing and doing roughs. And so it's like kind of creating like a map for the final book. And I'm working on thumbnails for page 88. I'm also doing the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge. And this would be, I think, day 35 of the 100 Days of Making Comics. And I'm going to be live streaming possibly every night, definitely a lot, whenever I work on my books. And this chunk, actually, that you're seeing for page 88, I did the majority of these thumbnails while doing Art Casters with Scott Cirkland, and you can check that out on Scott Cirkland's channel. We literally wrapped that about 10 or 15 minutes ago. And so the nice thing is this will be a shorter stream today, but I'm going to kind of run through the rest of the comics. So far, we're kind of going through some basic, like we, in the storyline, like I've been kidnapped by a neighbor and then narrowly escaped their apartment, which is across from our apartment. And now my wife, then fiance, and I have gone to a friend's house to borrow a gun from his friend, who's a gun owner, who's now walking us through like gun safety. It's a really surreal part of the story. And now we're kind of going through. So it starts by saying, good, that's all I needed to know. Let's get into the drills. So now we're drilling on how to load guns, load this particular rifle. And it says we spent the next hour and a half learning the mechanics of the bolt, loading the bullet, and then unloading, and then checking the chamber. And then we're basically going to get into it. So, okay. So now I need to kind of create the rest of this page. And while I'm doing it, I might talk a little bit about some of the stuff I'm thinking, but my general thought is today should be a much shorter stream because I'm almost a little over halfway done. So probably may clock in at about an hour. We'll see. But Artcasters was a pretty good episode. I felt good about it. We had the guys behind Mini Comics Bundles on our show, and they talked about this business they're setting up making mini comics, and it's very cool. The comics look really cool, and it's pretty exciting. So check that out on Scott Cirkland's channel if you're watching this, and then we'll just kind of get into this. So yeah, it's been a pretty good day. I had a decent day at work. I finally got to go back to work, which was good. And then did Artcasters, got some stuff done, and now I'm working on the last bit of this page. So this is gonna say, okay, by the end of the night, and then as usual with the stream, if somebody stops by, has any questions or just wants to chat, like yeah, they're welcome to. But this is going a little late at night, so I'm not sure how many people will stop by. We'll see how that goes. So by the end of the night, we were pretty well versed in the do's and don'ts of the So this one's just going to be, I think, I need to see from the last page where sequentially, okay, she's on the right. Okay. That's all I needed to see. So here I think I'm gonna have Mai's character loading the gun, and Troy's gonna be looking over. So he's gonna be there. I think I'm gonna have Jeremy in there, who's another character we brought in. And I'm going to be here. And we're going to have the couch. Okay, so here we go. Work this out. And we're just going to do, this is very rough thumbnails, so I'll have to kind of work from there. So thumbnails, like I've gotten into this before, but thumbnails are basically like a rough map for what the final will eventually look like. And I'm feeling pretty good actually about the progress on this page. So I'm hoping this doesn't take like an immensely long amount of time. So this is going to be the rifle. This is going to be the hand. And that'll be holding the bullet that's going into the chamber. That was kind of illustrated above. And that'll be there we go. Okay. It's a very surreal part of a story where it's like this little like late night training session in gun ownership for a bunch of people who don't believe in owning guns. But it happened years ago, decades, almost decades ago. So there we go. Got this. This is going to be the hand. kind of cradling the gun. And just going to have that kind of worked out. Okay, cool. Okay. In there. So the main function for these roughs and thumbnails is for me to kind of work out a comp of how this is going to go down for the finals, in which I'll have to gather a lot of finished art and stuff like that to kind of make happen. Let's see here. And I'm having a little bit of coffee just to kind of get some juice to finish this up, because these things take time. And I've found that for, like, if you want to do comics, especially graphic novels that you yourself write and illustrate, and you want to create them to a certain level of quality, it requires just a lot of time, and that time doesn't come from nowhere. So I think if you're in a scenario like most of us are, where you're having to do a day job or a creative job that requires a lot of energy and like time, as most creative jobs do, or a non-creative job that requires creative energy and time, you'll find yourself in this position where, at least I found myself in a position where I for a long time was like a freelance illustrator, and I was drawn to freelance, and I did it for like 15 years with the thought that I thought, like, unlike in-house work, I would have more time to work on my own personal projects. And while it was kind of true, because I did find personal projects that ended up kind of covering the bills and stuff like that, I didn't find a lot of time to work on things like this graphic novel, because instead I had to focus on, like, bill paying work, which, was like, you basically have to take the best bang for your buck bet. So if you have a high paying client, that becomes your priority. If you have, like a certain print that sells, like for me, I made my living primarily off of doing shirts. What's up? How are you on Indie Review Show? I think that is Corey Kerr, with a setup account for Indie Review Show. That's cool. I'm glad you set it up, dude. It's very exciting. That's going to be our new show on Monday, where we will be reviewing indie. Well, at least we're starting by reviewing indie comics, which is pretty exciting. So you guys should all subscribe to Indie Review Show on YouTube. And yeah, it should be pretty cool. We're having our debut episode on Monday, and I'm actually pretty pumped about it. But we should be doing like an in-depth analysis of different books mainly comics. I'm guessing comics will be our main focus, but there will also be books, films, short animations, like basically just independent focused art. And we're going to do reviews and segments and stuff like that. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a good show. And unlike the IRS, which is what our show will be shortened to, the acronym, unlike the other IRS, will be the IRS that you look forward to hearing from. So, okay. So that's kind of the angle, but I'm pretty excited about that show, and that's cool, Corey, that you got that set up. So I'm actually pretty pumped about this page and how it's coming along, and I'm also excited that I was able to get progress done during Artcasters, because sometimes I have a tendency, and you guys might have even noticed it on this show, but it's like sometimes I'll have a tendency when I get really into a conversation to sort of forget to make progress on my art. And so I do feel like one thing this stream is getting me a lot better at, it's learning to work on art while I stream. And I think it's a good skill to have. And it definitely, especially if I want to do these streams, it's going to be really essential, so that I don't end up spending more time than I need to on the art that I'm making. So here we go. And then Frank is joining us, and he said the IRS is up and running. Yes, sir. We are up and running. I believe that Corey is setting up the YouTube, and we will probably have a Twitch and some other accounts. And then come hell or high water, we're going to have our first episode on Monday, which might be completely crazy because we may not even have the whole thing ironed out yet. But like any new show, it'll kind of get refined as we go. And I do think it's, from what we have set up, I do think it's got enough structure to where I think it's going to be pretty tight and awesome. So I'm pretty excited about that. How you doing, Frank? Glad to see you in the chats. There was a pretty wild chat going during Artcasters, and so I ended up missing a bunch of it. I don't know if you were in on that one, Frank, or if you just hopped on this. I feel like you were in the Artcasters too. But anyhow, thank you for stopping by and saying hi. Frank Salazar of the Taraco Creative Cast. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, I thought you were in the chats. I didn't get a chance to really respond to any, like a lot of people in the chats, but I thought I saw you talking in the chats, and I wanted to make sure, so I'm not just like being like, thanks for stopping in the chats there, and being wrong. Yeah, I thought it was a good show, and I like the I'm really inspired by the indie comic bundles thing. I think that's it's just a cool idea. And they make really cool indies, so I'm pretty excited by it. Still need to like figure out Discord so I can like hang with Marshall on there. Marshall's a good dude, and I know he has like a pretty crazy active Discord, and it sounds like fun to participate in, but I have not yet learned the ropes of Discord, which Corey would probably give me a hard time about because I think he knows how to use Discord better than I do. And that's no excuse. It really is just a matter of like, I just need to spend the time to like set that up. But anyhow, I thought it was a pretty interesting conversation. Got me thinking about minis, missing making minis. I have to say there's one thing I miss from working on these monster graphic novels. It's the idea of like making a mini. Nice. Ordered this third and fourth bundle. Yeah, it's such a cool idea, and I think just fun. I'm gonna have to hop on there and order some too, because the art looks really cool too, and it just like there is something to be said for like just having a new mini arrive in the mail. Um, yeah. So anyhow, okay. So this is actually kind of working. I know this is just to pull back all the characters into the scene. It's kind of a tight shot, but I think it works. Frank likes making minis. Nice. Yeah, minis are fun. And they're like an art form to themselves, you know. I remember years ago, like Jeffrey Brown. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he did a graphic novel called Clumsy, but he used to do it as a mini comic, and really loose, kind of noodly style, but these really heartfelt autobio stories. I just always thought that was cool. And then there's, legends in mini comics like King Cat. Um, I just like minis. Whenever I go to a convention, I always like try to do that. Hmm. Pretty exciting. This is pretty exciting. I think we have a couple things. Wow, Corey's been busy. I think Indie Review Show now has a Google. That's pretty exciting. I think we have a Google and well, anyhow, I just saw a bunch of notifications, Corey, that I'm going to have to look at. Probably when I'm a little more conscious in the morning. Cool. So we are getting halfway, like making pretty good progress on this page. I'm glad I was able to start a lot of it pre-stream because I definitely am hoping to be finished before midnight on this. So we'll see. How far are you, Frank, on your mini? Kind of curious. Okay, here we go. By the end of the night, okay, and then I think this is going to be potential. Yeah, this is actually going to be good. Oh, that might work. I hope this works out. Do, 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 do. So this is going to say, but I was feeling overwhelmed. On page 7. Nice. Nice, Frank. Glad you're knocking those out. That's pretty exciting. Okay. But I was feeling over. There we go. That should allot me enough space. Overwhelmed. So in this, I think I'm going to have the character stand up. There might be even a change in the Yep. This is going to be the the bolt action kind of pushing forward. Actually, it'd be more like here. I'm just going to redraw a little bit. This character standing up, feeling overwhelmed. Starting to stand up. How about that? I think actually that'll work better. Yep, this will do it. I did think one of the cool things that came out of that Artcast series conversation was this idea of, and I think there's truth to this, where there can be problems when you're an artist if you just kind of jump into something without a plan, right? But you can equally end up in almost like a totally different problem if like you end up working on a project that you've overplanned and you're too cautious about, and you haven't really set a timeline on or like an ambitious goal with. That can equally be problematic. So it's good to do planning and stuff like that, but there is a point in art where you can actually really benefit from having a deadline and having no time to kind of question what you're doing, like to actually just have to move forward with something. And I actually do agree with that. Like there's a certain amount, even with these thumbnails, like I'm being more precious than I usually would with them. But I'm trying to set this goal of doing one a day. Because I feel like if I don't get one a day done, the likelihood of me being even more overly precious with it is a lot higher. And sometimes it's not even like, it may not actually end up better, and that's something to keep in mind. So like it's good to spend time on art and make it the best you can, but at the same time, like be aware sometimes if you spend a ton of time on art, it may not actually be the best. It can be. I like this fine balance. I think I need this hip not to push forward like that. I'm going to actually have this more like this, where it's going to be similar thing. There we go. So he's getting up from the couch, basically. There we go. There is some strange beeping going on. Outside of our house, and it's awfully strange. Just makes me wonder what it is. Like, is it a car? Anyhow, I thought it was kind of cool though, because there is something to be said for just kind of committing and doing and not second guessing. A lot of great things get done that way. And then weirdly enough, sometimes if they're not great, I still saved a whole ton of time on potentially investing too much. Frank asked, are the aliens landing? Dude, if they were to land, this might be the spot. Because where I live is not too far from Edwards Air Force Base and NASA, which is pretty funny because I grew up in this area too when I was younger. And it's like you would just see so much weird stuff. There's definitely some tales of driving with friends out in the middle of the desert and seeing stuff that looked like alien spacecraft. Which I personally think there was like a rational explanation to, but I'm just saying like this area of California is not a bad spot for aliens to land, because if they were to land in the AV, because we're so used to seeing like aircraft flying over all the time, like stealth fighters and all sorts of stuff, because that's a huge industry out here. It's like, yeah, this would be the place to do it and not go noticed. Not the only place, but a pretty good place. So Frank, who knows, man? YouTube requires 24 hours to verify things before I can schedule the screen stream for Monday. Well, that's cool though, Corey. I'm pretty pumped. By the way, Corey, if you want to hop on, you're welcome to. If not, I totally get it too. I'm probably going to be on for maybe 20 more minutes. But that's cool that you're setting it up. And I'm guessing you're probably busy setting up all that YouTube business. I have to go through all those emails. You've set up some cool stuff. That's pretty rad too. I'm glad you figured out how to kind of split the channel. That's cool. Anyhow, sorry. I'm imagining that must have taken a little bit of time. Thank you, Corey, for doing that. You guys should check out Indie Review Show when it goes live. It'll be good. Okay, so two panels left to go, you guys, and I am pretty excited about that. Okay, now I need to pull. I gotta look at one of the earlier panels from this whole sequence. Where are you? The downside of OBS, I've noticed, is if I'm looking through other files, they just magically, even if I'm not sharing that on my screen, it causes like every time I scroll through the thumbnails. Oh, there it is. That's what I needed. Not this one though. That's a JPEG. I need to open the PSD. Okay. But anyhow, I've noticed that OBS kind of glitches out when you open another file. So I needed that bottom panel because that is going to give me a window. Yep, that's what I need. I need that panel to steal you see. I also need to think, where is our dog here? I left the dog out of the panels. Actually, I'll just have him sleeping here. Pugs are funny. They're kind of couch animals. So this is going to be where that pug is sleeping. Going to be sleeping pretty soundly in his pug-like way. Yep. And that's going to be hardly noticeable to anyone but me. Corey, what's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for setting that up. That looks like it might have taken a bit of research and time, so I appreciate it.
A little bit, but now both of our Twitch channels, our personal Twitch channels, will stream to the Indie Review channel when we go live there, and the Indie Review channel has its own Twitch channel that will stream when we go live to it, and then let's see. Oh, and then the Indie Review Show's YouTube page is owned by both of us because it's a brand.
Yeah, that's cool. How did you set that up? Well, maybe you don't have to go into it, but it still sounds like it took some time.
Just make it a brand.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I don't want to.
Look at us making brands.
No,
we're gonna have to, like, if this thing is successful, Corey, we're gonna make a literal cattle brand and buy some cattle with our massive, crazy profits.
Absolutely.
And be like, no, we weren't talking about branding, like art branding. We were literally creating a cattle brand. Okay. Worst joke ever. I am pretty excited about this, but it's funny because I had forgotten some pretty important stuff. like the pug that started off in the sequence. So I get rid of that gun. There's no gun here. I'm kind of getting happy to be almost done with this gun sequence, though. It's so surreal, I think, in the story. I mean, the whole purpose of it is to kind of be surreal, but it's just a surreal thing. Not something I would picture. Like, if I were to make it up, I don't think I'd include this scene, you know?
Yeah.
One of the fun things about doing Slice of Life is, like, sometimes, like, Corey, if you ever did a Slice of Life about, like, your time in, what was it, Scotland,
Spokane.
Oh, Glasgow, right?
Yeah, in Glasgow. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, if you did, like, a comic about that samurai guy.
Yeah. Or, like, the first day I was there would be the single most interesting thing to draw, I think, ever, because it was the Catholic football team playing the Protestant football team, and my apartment was in between the two niches. And
so you literally just moved into a religious war.
Yeah, and that's like not a nice part of the neighborhood. It was just a cheap flat, but it was. I mean, it was like I don't think you could choreograph a more chaotic scene in a movie. Like, it was just like tons of people in kilts just running around, throwing like bottles of like Buckfast at each other and screaming, and then right next to them, like just everyone going nuts, there's just like a mom walking down the street with two kids like it's nothing, and then like a bunch of people like rocking a car, getting ready to tip it over, a bus just trying to plow through a bunch of like Celtic football fans that were all wearing like green and white stripes that were just like, there's just like 20 of them in the middle of the road, just jumping up and down, and they all dove out of the way at the last second. It was nuts. And then there's the guy just running, kind of jogging, not like sprinting. And he had his kilt tucked up underneath his armpits, and he was just peeing as he ran. And we're like driving through this, and my companion is from Spain, and so he like picked me up at the airport, and he's acting like it's nothing, like it's not a problem at all. He's from Real Madrid, so I don't know if he's just used to it or whatever. But I was like, what is going on? Anyway, yeah, that was bizarre.
That is bizarre, man.
That was a weird first day.
It's funny too. I mean, I'm sure this is an over exaggeration, but it also does sound a little similar to like the Lakers winning.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I was like, at first I'm like tempted to judge it, and then I'm like, wait a minute. In LA, like every time there's a Laker game, that's a massive game. Like there's like people overturning cars and like.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities. I think the difference is that there's just a level of public drunkenness that's acceptable over there that I don't even think we can happen here.
Yeah, I wouldn't call any U.S. sports fans like the rowdiest, most comparable would be like Oakland Raider games, you know, but it's like even that, like compared to like footballers, like no, it's just there's no I don't think there's a U.S. comparison to like because it's like I mean that's literally it's a very
well, I mean like okay, so I know in certain parts of LA or whatever, like you wear the wrong colors and you're in trouble, right? But
it's like 100%.
That's like gang affiliation. Yeah,
and it's not quite. I mean, it still is bad, but it's not quite where it was like at certain times.
In the 90s, it was, you know. So, but take that and expand it to literally everyone in the country, not just like a small subset element, but like every person that lives in the country, no matter how old or young they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I showed up to church one time, and like somebody at church was like, "Hey, you got to take that tie off. You can't wear green in here." And I was like, "What is going on?" So I got, because one team is blue and the other team is green. So I got a tartan that had green and blue in it. I wore that tie, or I wore the Kerr tartan. That was it. I owned 2 ties. Those are the only ones I wore because it just wasn't worth it otherwise.
So my wife is half Japanese and half Scottish. And her plaid on the Scott side is pretty badass.
What's her clan?
Stuart.
Oh,
so she's like, it's so sad. Like I always joke with her that by marrying me, she lost a power name and she gained like a very weak last name. It's like there's, you know, like going from like Stewart to Kemble, not the best gain there.
I mean, Campbell,
you definitely are more brandable with Kemble.
Campbell is close, but Kemble, yeah. But yeah, the Stewarts and the Campbells, man, there's some pretty vicious history with them.
Yeah, the Stewart clan is pretty powerful. That is a literal power name. But yeah, like Kemble, like there's this funny, I think I've told you this story, but I remember watching this show on name origins, and it's one of the only ones where they had my spelling of Kemble, because it's usually Campbell, because Kemble is just literally like any weird spelling, where most names that sound sort of close to a more common name literally originate from like one of your ancestors misspelt the name.
Because we think of words as being spelled correctly or incorrectly.
Yeah,
that's a very recent thing.
Well, and like that's assuming you can even write or spell. I mean that's a very recent thing too, right?
Right.
Um,
Literacy, but even amongst the literate,
yeah,
there wasn't. I mean, the dictionary is fairly recent. There wasn't like an agreed upon spelling. There was just people that were like, yeah, I think we should spell it like this, and we're like, no, in our village we spell it like this. Screw you. It's just like it's not like there wasn't like a national
yeah.
standard on anything until like the last few hundred years. So yeah.
So like one of the funny things about my last name was it kind of originates from Kemble, England, right? And then it's like Kemble, England was named after a guy Campbell, but they didn't know how to spell his name, so they called it Kemble, and then they got it wrong and just kind of doubled down on it. Which actually, it's funny. There's a lot of U.S. cities like that too, where I think it was like Cleveland was a misspelt word of a guy with the last name Cleveland, but it was spelt differently. And they printed it in the newspaper, and then they were just like, I guess it's Cleveland now.
There's a town out here. It's spelled Dubois, but everybody calls it Dubois.
Oh, like W.B. Du Bois, like from there?
Yeah. I think that's it.
Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man.
Classic
book.
Yeah. Is it Dubois, Idaho? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So population 677 people.
How is that even a town? Oh man.
It's not a big town, but it is.
Like, is it wrong that, like, as a Californian, it just kind of bums me out that you guys have almost equal representation to my entire state? Come on, you got a town with 600 people.
You guys have towns with 600 people.
I know. You're right. We have like Shandon and all sorts of like areas up, especially up north.
I used to play Shandon in high school in football.
No way.
Yeah, they would.
I have a buddy who just bought property out there.
Part of their football practice was to crawl on all fours and pick broken glass out of the field every day.
Sports.
Shannon's not a great town.
Yeah, I guess property's really cheap though. So
yes,
he bought a. So Shandon literally has like 3 people in it. But I guess there's like a famous church in that area. It's like a white church. It's a staple of the whole city.
Yeah, that's
like their post office.
That's in my home county.
So anyhow, he bought that church.
Oh, he bought it?
Yeah, and he's renovating it into an art studio.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty rad, yeah. Anyhow.
Let's see. I want the climate.
I think it's Shandon. Am I saying the wrong?
Population 1,295.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm going to double check that that's where he's at, but I'm pretty sure it is.
I love the Wikipedia page. The Shandon welcome sign. This was built as part of an Eagle project by a local resident. I can almost guarantee that dude was Mormon that built that sign. San Luis Obispo County. Yeah.
Am I thinking the right one?
I don't know.
Oh, well, maybe I'm saying it wrong.
I mean, yeah.
I gotta check now.
Yeah, look up the map.
I'm just gonna go to his Facebook page and see where it is, because maybe I'm thinking the wrong area. It's up north. He bought a.
Not Shannon.
Shandon, yep. So it's a famous church. It's literally like the church is on their post office.
Okay.
It's like a white little church. And he just bought it and he's turning it into like a little art compound.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go like this. And then I'll just show you. This is funny.
But yeah, my buddy Kyle, he lives there.
Here's Shandon. And then you take 46. And then there's Paso Robles. I grew up right here.
That's a trip. That makes sense. I didn't realize though. I guess like he was saying, it's like because it's like farm area, like you can get pretty decent amount of property
Oh yeah.
for like nothing.
Yeah. I mean, like over here is really expensive, but that's because you start going a little bit east and it's just like a wasteland.
Yeah.
But
Kind of cool to buy a church too for that, because it's like if you imagine like they're converting like the Sunday school area into like a sculpture workshop, because he does a lot of like physical. I should show you his stuff actually.
yeah, that's a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, so
There's
look
23
up
miles.
Kyle Johnson. I wonder, he'll probably be the first to show up. This dude went to school with me, and he does like cardboard. Just Google it, and you'll see his
Photos
stuff.
or Pacific Northwest photography. Is that him?
He does like all these cardboard sculptures and stuff. So,
That Kyle Johnson.
and he did like a TED talk, and anyhow, he was from Cal State Long Beach. No, Kyle, Kiel. Try that.
Kiel?
Mm-hmm.
How was I supposed to guess that?
I don't know. It's like Kemble.
Yeah, right?
Like CAM? No, KE. What?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that dude, when I was in grad school, he did sculptures like that, like these crazy installation. He's a great artist. Like he's really good. And he's really killer at drawing and does animation and stuff, all this cool stuff. But he worked on campus running the galleries, like operating the art galleries at Cal State Long Beach. And I became friends with him because this is one of the benefits of having been a smoker. But I used to, whenever I go out to smoke breaks, I get into conversations with him and stuff. But he used to do like work at Cal State Long Beach, and then he did that so that he could rent like a warehouse that was close to the pier that he would build all these crazy creations at.
We got to next time I go to my parents' house, we got to meet up at this guy's place.
He'd probably be open to it. He's a pretty cool dude. So, but he's like super inspiring too, and his work like really took off in the last few years, and it's really encouraging to see. But yeah, him and his wife just literally bought a church, and they're renovating it to like this cool art studio. It's kind of rad. I feel like after COVID, I'm gonna have to stop by there.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is literally going to.
Is it the Shandon Chapel Hill?
I think so. It's like a white church.
Well, that's this one?
Hold on a sec. I was Googling it. Did you pull it up? Hold on.
It's like this.
No. It's like a little. It's like a weird little.
Because this looks like a mission that's been converted into a winery.
Yeah, no, this one's like a little. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Because he's been posting his renovations and stuff of it on Facebook, but it's this crazy little white community church, but it's, I guess, like historic in the sense that it's like when they bought it, like there's literally like an image of it on their post office, which by the way is like a tiny little building.
Oh yeah. 1,200 people.
They're like in farm country, so they're on the farm end here. I'll just show you a picture. It's like a little, well, this isn't the best. Let me see if I can find it. Oh man, I'm getting distracted. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to find a really good shot of it so you can see it. It's like a cute little kind of like classic chapel. Like if you imagine just like a little white church with like a bell at the top kind of thing, you know, like the old schoolhouses.
Yeah.
But he's doing all this just crazy cool stuff. It's really inspiring. I have no idea how long they've been planning it, but I'm scrolling through like images of him like tearing out the floor and reworking the wiring and pipe and stuff. He's one of those guys, you know, like I mean, that's kind of why he ran the galleries on campus too, because he's the type of guy who you're like, we need to build a wall. He's like, yeah, I got it up in 2 seconds. What else do you need?
Right.
You're like, plumbing. Okay, I installed plumbing. What else do you need? You're like, how do you do all this crap and draw well? I don't know. He's definitely very inspiring dude. Crap. Okay, I have no time to find it on Facebook. I'm scrolling through a million things on there. I think, let me see if I can find the name. I guess it's close to like Crawford Park or something. So that's close to where you grew up, huh?
Yeah, like 20 miles away.
No way.
And I mean, where I live, there's like nothing in between cities, and you know, so that's like 20 miles of nothing. Well, actually, there's a place called Our Town, which is like, I wonder if that's still a thing. It's
Our
like
Town?
No, Our Town, and it's. I mean, it's like a half step away. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. 1963. Yeah, it was once the site of a huge. Anyway, it was a grand dream gone bankrupt. I'm just reading an article in the San Luis Obispo Tribune.
Sounds like it was, here, like Lake LA.
But now it's like it's just this little. They were basically trying to make this like compound that like wasn't annexed by any cities and didn't have to pay taxes. And I think there's still people that live out there with like no electricity and no city services. Because I was friends with one dude in high school that like didn't wear shoes, and like he literally lived in like a chicken coop.
That's brutal.
And they would just like walk to. Well, he loved it. I mean, I don't think they had to do that. I mean, they were like holdover hippies from like the '60s, like generationally.
Yeah. So anyway. What's the? So definitely like Santa Cruz. Is that close to there?
Santa Cruz is north of me.
Okay. Because I'm trying to just like picture.
So you know,
because I grew up in SoCal, like a lot of NorCal kind of all blurs together.
Well, the funny thing is we're Central Coast, and so everybody in Southern California thinks we're Northern, and everybody in Northern California thinks we're Southern.
Okay.
You know, like Salinas, King City, Monterey Bay.
Yeah.
So those are all north of us. And then like
Monterey is way up north though, right?
It's. I mean, I'm Paso's like halfway in between, like Ventura and the Bay Area.
Okay.
So if you just take 101, like 3 hours north of Ventura, that's where it is.
Okay. Huh. Anyhow, apparently property's not super crazy out there. In Shandon.
Paso's crazy, but yeah, Shandon, Creston.
Paso Robles, though, that's like is that wine kind of country type thing?
It is now, yeah. It hasn't always been that way, but yeah, most of my friends that still live there like own wineries.
It's awesome. If you have friends who own wineries, I need to meet your friends.
Right. My quarterback, he was like doing accounting for the Pac-10. And then he was like, yeah, I'm going to go buy a winery. And I just saw it. So now I guess he's running a winery. But
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, it's an interesting place because like it sounds like you'd have to be like really wealthy to live there, but if you bought a house in the 80s, then you like now own a home that's worth, like $500,000 to $750,000. But you can still be making like, high school teacher money
Yeah.
because you bought it when it was like super cheap. Like my parents built like this like government assistance program where like the government gave you a loan sort of if you built your own house. And so like there's like this like co-op of people that would build these neighborhoods together.
Hmm.
And then it's California, so and they're like 26 miles from the coast. Because like Big Sur is really close to us, Hearst Castle, like that type of stuff.
Yeah, I would consider that up north.
Big Sur, sure, but not Hearst Castle.
Hearst is so it's not that far from I'm trying to think of like what that little, oh my gosh, what is that area along the coast right by Hearst Castle? There's like a little shopping area there.
Morro Bay?
Or it's
Cambria?
Yeah, Cambria. So is it kind of close to Cambria then?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a nice area, man.
Yeah, that's why I can't live there. It's because I don't make enough money.
Yeah, you have to be pretty loaded to live in Cambria.
Yeah.
Hearst Castle's pretty fun. Kind of
it got really pricey once the state took over. So like here it is, right? So
did you hear about the whole controversy after the state took over? They still let the Hearsts like have like private parties in like the pool. And they got in all this deep shit for it because they were like basically like using Hearst Castle on the weekends or something to like kind of like wine and dine politicians.
There's some weird,
but like the California, like the state is like footing the bill for the electric, it's like that kind of sucks. Sorry.
Okay, so this one.
I saw the last Breaking the Chains. It's pretty cool what you guys are building.
We just keep thinking there's no way that this is going to be interesting to anyone. And yet people keep watching it. So
well, I'm kind of like there with this stream where I don't quite have like an agenda or anything on it. And half the time I'm just going to be working, but I have noticed like I'm not getting a ton of views, but I'm surprised people are even viewing it,
But you're like talking about stuff. Like we are literally like moving files around.
Yeah, but I think it's fascinating. Like I actually listened to it on my way home from work, but it just sounds like a collaboration, and it's fun to hear you guys chat and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you,
I'm not the best gauge though to tell you if it's interesting or not, because like I like checking out my friends collaborating.
Right.
It's like that in itself makes me a little biased, but it seems pretty cool. I think it's pretty fascinating to see like the inner workings of like the mechanics of how all of that works. Yeah. What are all those mouths for?
I'm about to make these three girls talk.
Are you syncing it? Like how are you get? That's one thing from watching the show where I have no idea how you are going to sync the audio with the lips.
We're not. So we're just going to do it. We're basically just making it happen so quickly that more of like there's some cartoons where you can tell what they're saying by reading their lips, and there's other cartoons where the mouth just moves so fast that you just assume.
You guys are Scooby-Dooing it?
Yeah.
That's okay. Hanna-Barbera, man. Did that crap for years.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's people today that still do it, like Fairly Odd Parents and stuff. Their mouths aren't synced up. Shoot, what was that? Oh, girls' mouths. That's what I want.
But I'm still trying to figure out, like, are you handling the timing? Like, who's handling the timing of how
so
mouths are going to be flapping?
Actually, I'm doing that right now. what I'm doing is I am rendering out 2 versions of every shot where someone is talking. One version where their mouths are moving, one version where their mouths are not moving. And then Jim's going to go in and just cut in between those as he edits it together.
It's a trip. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but I have finished my page.
Woo!
Dude, this is unheard of. Like a live stream where I'm going for 1 hour and that's it.
I know. That's crazy. You've got another like 2.5, 3 hours before you normally quit.
Yeah. So I think that's going to call it. I am really digging what you're doing though. And I'm stoked you set up the channel for the Indie Comic Review.
Yeah.
I need to peek at URLs. So I'm going to kind of take a look at that in the next few days.
Yeah, let me know. Why is that so small? Because I can just, if you can just kick that over that page, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do one thing I was thinking is we need to like take a picture where we're like, this is probably a stupid idea, but I'm trying to find out ways to make this not take 1 million hours every week. But we should just have basically one thumbnail where we're both like on either side of whatever we're reviewing. And I'll just like cut out our hands so that we can be holding the book.
Well, that's a good idea.
Give me like 2 or 3 shots of reaction stuff looking to one side, and then a shot of your hand holding something and a different shot. And I'll do the same, and then I'll just put together like a Photoshop file so we can spit out thumbnails.
You know what I've noticed? This just seems to be a common thread on thumbnails that succeed on YouTube. But generally they have images of people's heads that they kind of rotate through. So I think they just build a template or it's just a masked out person. And then they always have like that white outline around the person.
Yep.
And so I was like, you're probably right on that, where if we had like just a couple stock images of our heads and then we could just replace them with like different books or whatever, that would help.
I went to a conference where they were talking about that. They did a study, and large faces showing some kind of emotion with very little text is what gets you the most amount of views. So I'm thinking we have no text. You just have the two of us holding up whatever it is we're reviewing, and then we can put all the text in the title and everything.
Cool. All right. Well, I definitely, I'm also tomorrow going to have to work a little more on that secret project. Definitely on Saturday. Saturday will be like a big catch-up day.
Yeah, I was going to do my part about that yesterday, and I never got to it.
Yeah, it's hard to do during the work week. So, cool. Well, I think we're wrapping, at least getting close to wrapping on my end of the stream. And so I will just kind of start closing it out. Like first, I will say, if you're interested in some of the animation stuff that Corey is working on right now, you can see a more in-depth kind of thing where with him and Jim Lujan, who are collaborating to make this animation in real time on Breaking the Chains, and it's pretty cool and inspiring and funny too, because the just like what they're animating is funny. So it's awesome. So go check that out, Breaking the Chains, on Corey's channel, Corey Kerr. And then you're on my channel, and if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. Oh, here, one quick time. I'm going to show you guys a close-up of what I finished. And then I will pull out again back to the two view. So see, finish the page. That is day 30. Can't even keep track, but I think it's 35 of the 100 days of making comics. ticked off. And anyhow, you're on my channel. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit that bell. That way you get notifications. That's if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, hit follow. And I think it costs money to subscribe, so I'm definitely not going to ask you to subscribe. But definitely hit follow. And then hopefully I can grow followers there. And then in the meantime, most importantly, go pick up this book, 2 Stories by me on Amazon. Is there anything you kind of wanted to wrap with? Yeah, it's funny. Frank's doing the hundreds, and he was like, I lose track of the days too. Yeah, it's really hard. Frank's way further, though. He's on day 47. You're a powerhouse, Frank.
No, just go to CoreyKerr.com/IRS and get ready for the show on Monday. So
yeah.
I will be reviewing a really weird indie book that is like one of my favorite books that I've read in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. And I actually did forget to plug the IRS. On Monday, just keep an eye out on Facebook, Twitter, because we're going to be shuttling you guys to the Indie Comic Review or the Indie Review Show YouTube page, and that's where we're going to be launching our new show where we do pretty in-depth reviews and analysis of comics, books, and other like kind of fiction and nonfiction art. And the unique thing about this is we're going to do it from the angle of stuff that we've drawn inspiration for our own artwork from. So I think it'll be informative and helpful for artists, and also hopefully really entertaining and interesting, and it might turn you guys on to some books you haven't checked out before. Did I sell that okay? I got to work on the pitch.
I think so.
Yeah, so join now and like, make sure on Monday you get in there so you can be an early IRS agent, because that's going to be we're going to rely on our agents to kind of get that out. So, all right. That being said, yeah, thanks, Corey, for stopping by too. It's fun. It was fun to talk about Shandon, and I'm kind of curious what I should call this one because it was pretty interesting. Maybe I'll call it Killers and Kilts. I don't know. But that was a fun conversation, man. So thanks for keeping me company whilst working. And I'll probably be seeing you or other folks tomorrow, because I'm imagining these comics aren't going anywhere. Although one part of the comic is going everywhere, somewhere. I am never going to have to do the thumbnails or the roughs for page 88. And you'll notice that number is creeping up, man. It's getting closer. So that's the fun of like working at things at the pace of a turtle. All right. I guess we'll see you guys next stream. And yeah. Okay, bye.
See ya.